And welcome to the Avance Podcast. I'm Dan.
And I'm Nick.
And our guest this week is Casey Putsch. Putsch? Am I saying that right?
Putsch, like put your money where your mouth is.
Putsch. You'd think I've heard it 100 times. I think they'll say it.
I mean, yeah, but when I see him on VinWiki, it's just Casey. So I don't think of it that way. So yeah.
I cannot wait to talk about your cars.
Oh goodness!
We're going to start with our Carter Automotive Group tip of the week, which is one of your cars I really liked, and it doesn't apply to this one, but it did remind me of it, and one of my favorite cars that I've had. So my C7 Z06 had an interesting feature that a lot of people with C7s in general and other GMs have never touched, and that is the full throttle upshift. You can full throttle shift that car. It's one of the few cars that it's no lift shifting is what it's called.
Okay.
And specifically, it's made for drag racing. Shocking people in Corvettes drag race. I know. Probably not well. They usually end up in a ditch.
Your car scared me enough just shifting from first to second. I don't want to be full throttle into it and then try to shift it. So I'm good.
Yeah. So it was really only a GM thing up until 2020. The only other car, and this was actually hard to find because even trying to find, I never did it in mine, for the record. Because I am terrified of what would happen if I got that wrong.
Yeah, okay.
If you've ever full throttle upshifted anything, you probably have a purpose-built drag race car.
You're talking like full pedal. I mean,
yep, no
pedal
lift.
to the ground, slam the clutch, slam the gear.
Yep.
Okay.
And it'll automatically
definitely never done
the
that.
spark. Yeah,
Okay.
Pretty crazy, right? Well, Chevrolet has this in a few cars, and if you have your owner's manual, you should check this out because it's a pretty cool thing from everything I've seen. But one of the funny ones on this list, this is just kind of a cool thing. Okay. The Chevrolet HHR SS has it. The Cobalt SS.
I get that.
Cadillac ATS-V. Makes sense there.
Okay.
Corvette, Camaro. Seeing a trend here.
I get that.
The Buick Regal GS with the optional transmission.
That's the one I was waiting for.
That's the one I was waiting for as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then the Hyundai Veloster N from 2020 on. Now, I did see references to it in the Mustang, but I couldn't find somebody actually doing it. Mustangs.
This doesn't void your warranty?
No, this is in the manual.
Okay.
And, it was cool with having the rev matching downshifting, but having, literally full throttle shifting, no lift shift.
I don't think if I was telling my brain to do that I could do it. So basically, what does it do? It cuts spark?
Cuts spark.
Okay.
And then holds, and then you just literally put it in the next gear. And as soon as the clutch comes back up, puts it back in.
Okay.
And so...
yeah, no. Because dumb shit me would probably end up putting it in reverse or something, Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so cool feature. Those of you with those cars, you should check it out in a closed course, in optimal conditions, in a space where you can get it wrong. But yeah, read your owner's manual. It's in there. It's just one of those things that I stumbled across just the other day. I was talking to somebody about Corvettes and somebody mentioned it to me and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot it even had that. I knew it had it because I'm one of those ones who read the owner's manual cover to cover.
They don't talk about that in the sales brochure when they...
Can you imagine that on a test drive?
Yes, I can.
It'd make for some great YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some great, terrible YouTube. But anyway, that's your automotive group tip of the week. Just something cool to know. Cool feature. You don't see it very often, and you probably will see it go away as fast as manual transmissions are. It never really caught on in a lot of other cars, but
sad.
Yeah, sad to see. But our guest this week has a lot of cars with manual transmissions, and a lot of very cool cars. Casey, you do a lot.
Yeah, I across the board, build, race when I can. I like to mentor students. I guess it all just stemmed from wanted to race, so I want to go fast, and I like cool stuff. And I couldn't afford to race, and I couldn't afford to buy cool stuff, so I had to build cool stuff, and hopefully build cool stuff that goes fast, and that I can at least trade up with, and keep trying to go fast. So eventually, I got pretty good at building things, and it's nice to help out young people do that, so I can get jobs too.
I have to say this: you're the first guy I've met with a Batmobile. So,
yeah, used to have one. Not that cool anymore.
used to have. Okay, you're the only guy I know that used to have a Batmobile.
And mine idled at 20,000 RPM, so that was cool.
I was going to say, for the guests that don't know, he had the cool Batmobile. For me, the coolest Batmobile, the King Batmobile, the Michael Keaton 1989 Batmobile with the jet engine.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'd seen a few people building, little hot rods, nothing too special, out of a body that traced its origin from the original movie car. And, I was thinking, well, in fiction, it was supposed to be, turbo jet engine or turbine engine. And so I started looking into it. And eventually I figured out a way I could get a Vietnam-era drone anti-submarine helicopter engine that was made to
get those on eBay, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I did,
like
dude. Seriously. I had a freaking
Yeah.
guy.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, a lot of them got pushed into like the ocean outside of Vietnam after the war. They lost.
Okay.
It was this little helicopter, right, that had counter-rotating props, kind of like a cheap early drone or a little like regular helicopter people get. But this is like Vietnam era and big. And it was controlled via radio frequencies, and it could fly like 80 miles away from the ship or something, carry 2 torpedoes. So, the engine was perfect for a Batmobile. Go figure. And I coupled it to a General Motors 4-speed automatic that I modified so it'd be a semi-automatic shifter. And I had one tachometer for the gas generator that idled at 20 grand. Its maximum was 40,000 RPMs. And then I had a second tachometer for the output shaft of the torque converter. And then so I would just use the throttle to make thrust. And then you look at the second tachometer and you just shift it when I hit the RPMs you need, which would be about 6,000 RPMs. It's pretty cool.
Well, you went up the Vector.
I think that's the first story where you actually I watched you. I think it must have been the Vin Wiki story, like the first time I ever saw you, and you were talking about cruising around in that and the stories. And I will encourage people to go watch that because there's a lot of good stories with that.
It was classic. I think the high point of the one story was pulling out from this weird dirt road that was under the highway with graffiti, and we're taking photos of it, and the people had gone, and it was this weird, like, tiny abandoned dirt road, like in downtown Columbus, and no one can see you coming. There's trees and walls and stuff, so I pop out in the Batmobile, and I was like, I got to turn left to go. There's a big intersection, and I didn't want to. I couldn't really do that safely, so I was like, I'll turn right. But when I look to the right, I see, like, I'm not kidding, like at least 1,000 people dressed as weird, creepy clowns. Okay. Now, this is a normal evening in Columbus. And I'm like, and so they see the Batmobile and they see me, and then they see me seeing them, and they start kind of skitzing out. And I didn't realize it, but just a quarter mile down the road was the LC Music Pavilion, and ICP was going to play that night. So these are all like
these are different types of clowns,
like, probably tripping balls already, on God knows what. They all start losing their mind because it's the Batmobile pulling out. So I pull out.
Trip went bad.
Yeah, dude.
I want to know the conversation the next day. Like somebody's like, I think I saw the Batmobile last night, dude. No, you didn't.
No, people there were people that saw that, remembered it years later for the Vin Wiki story, and even comment on it. It was great. But suffice to say,
that's awesome.
I had to pull out right by the clowns. I came out of there quick. There was a lot of dirt on the tires and it was dry, so I ended up coming out at a full power slide. And at that moment, I'm like, I'm just going to go with it. And these clowns start jumping out in the street, freaking out. So I just raised the machine gun, started firing blanks, and got on the PC going, die, clowns, die! Ripping down the road.
Okay.
It's great.
I think we're missing out. We need to be in Ohio. Washington definitely does not have that. Yeah.
I couldn't even. I can't even make that up. Like that's literally what happened.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, you win. Yeah.
Well, now that our audience that wasn't familiar with you knows what kind of person you are, I've got to ask, how did you get your start? Because, I mean, you really are a jack of all trades and a master of most. That's one of the things I love about your channel.
That's
artist, engineer, racer, like you've done well, and it's awesome to see.
I just haven't figured out that getting rich part yet. I'm working on that.
Well, you're not suffering.
Yeah, I'm not rich enough to go racing the way I want to, though. But we'll work on that.
We'll work on that.
That is the main goal that you bring up. I will say that you're consistent about that.
Yeah.
The fact that
racing,
that's what you want to do is go racing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I cut you off, though.
Nothing wrong with that. No, you're fine. I mean, I'm the one with ADHD. Meds are wearing off. It's going to be you. It's going to get cut off. Don't worry.
Fair enough. No, I appreciate it. It's really nice of you. I got started with the cars from my dad. I remember when I was a little kid, he would take my brother and I to Mid-Ohio. We go to the motorcycle races, we go to vintage races, Indy cars, anything that was there. And, back in the day, IMSA was still around, and my little brother and I were in love with GTP cars, the red, white, and blue Nissan. And later was
so cool.
Yeah, and later was WSC series. We'd go stand on the pedestrian bridge just so we could lose our hearing for a Ferrari 333 SP ripping underneath with a V12, And that was meant a lot. That was our culture, that was our love. And my dad was into radio control cars when I was a little kid, and building those and slot cars. So I grew up building in the garage and trying to, fix things and build things with my dad. And, he had some little British cars. He had a Mini, a Morgan, Ford Model A, a '67 Corvette when I was really little, and then he sold it before they got worth a lot of money in like late '80s, early '90s. He was always bummed, but that's what we grew up doing, and working with our hands. So it's interesting, and that's something I try to cultivate with some young people. Is that it all started from slot cars and Legos and radio control cars, and fixing the toys that you break, and that transitions perfectly to real cars.
Yeah, really does. And so let's talk about the kids and education part of this. The Genius Garage, really.
Yeah.
How did that all start? And actually, just give us the overview of Genius Garage.
So Genius Garage is a 501c3 public educational charity. I've been doing it for about 9 years now. And I think the best way to describe it is to explain like why I did it kind of in short. I had an unfulfilling college experience. I was kind of caught between art and design and engineering. I didn't think there was good mentorship or leadership for getting a direction. And, after college, I really fought hard to have a shop and build cars and eventually get to where I was restoring cars for people or race prepping cars, things like that, right? And obviously doing my own thing. And I was mentoring a bunch of college engineering students because you can graduate a 4-year degree in college and never turn a screwdriver, which is absolutely insane. And
sad. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 100%. And I was mentoring college engineering students with fabrication and building and electric Grand Prix motorcycles, just a bunch of stuff at the time. And so I was working with them and I was seeing what they were needing. And I'd been out in the real world industry and knowing high-end people and industry leaders long enough that I kind of knew what they needed. And I was sitting in my shop way back when, and there's a place to create. There's like a Lola T70 Spider, Datsun race car, things of my own, all this cool stuff. And I thought, it literally hit me where it was a moment of purity of, just like trying to make the world better, which in itself is insane and doesn't work as well as people think it does. And it's a really, really hard battle, which I learned.
Yeah.
But the thought was simple. If I'm going to be involved with cars and airplanes and racing and stuff anyway, I should do it in a way that matters. Because I remember years before that, I was at Watkins Glen driving a Formula Ford. And, I had like one friend with me. There's nobody there watching me. I spent a lot of time and money to do this. And I remember going up the S's onto the back straightaway, literally in the race thinking like, what am I doing? This doesn't really actually matter to anybody. I don't know if that's not a normal thought, but, every once in a while you have a thought pop in your head. And, at the shop, I just thought, hey, if I'm going to be involved with this stuff, I should make it matter. So the idea for Genius Garage was born, and the curriculum wrote itself because, bringing young people together in a way that they can be a team and they have somebody that's a mentor and a leader, understands what they need, help cultivate them as a team, help them grow, give them a shot to work on something that no one would let them touch. And then when they're done, they would have gained self-confidence and hand skill and fabrication and a lot of interpersonal skills and such, but also doing something so high level that nobody could ignore them. And that's what we did. The first year we had an old Indy car, and it's just amazing the careers it's launched since then.
That's so cool.
Well, I mean, I think, I had the pleasure of interviewing Lynn St. James a couple of years ago, and we were talking about that being a dying art and the fact of those of us with vintage cars and being able to bend metal and shape metal with your hands. And, I joke sometimes, say it's the kind of the Jesse James thing, but I think that's something that really needs to be taught because so many people are they don't want those skills. And I don't understand that. Obviously people like us get it, but
sure. Well, it's actually possibly a more simple answer to what happened than you may realize. I would say when I was younger in the 80s and 90s, we started pushing college preparatory direction so much more in high school. And the students that would go into the trades at the vocational school, which is frankly what I wanted to do when I was in high school, but they wouldn't let me because, I had to go to college or whatever. They kind of looked down on it as being blue collar. I grew up in a small Midwestern town. That's what they did. And it was kind of lame because all the cool stuff was the vocational school, like electrical, machining, all that stuff. But it was separate. And a difficulty is colleges, and this grew over time, but have largely been able to dilute their majors and become somewhat predatory because student loans cannot be defaulted on. So you get these kids that are 17 years old getting $100,000 loans for anything, and the college just will effectively sell you out to the salt mines, and it doesn't matter as much. So, our society, because of that, just went gaga over college and then gaga over things that are easily repeatable with no liability. So why would you have them in a shop working and actually building anything when they can just sit behind a computer or maybe 3D print something little? And that's what happened. I mean, it's kind of simple. And I'll give you an example. IndyCar right now desperately needs high-end mechanics and techs and engineers. They don't have any. To the point where Butch Myers, 67 years old, and they're begging to hire him. He's like, nah, screw you guys. But it's a thing everywhere. And it's not a simple solution, but it's a simple way for us all to realize what happened. So hopefully people can actually go after what they want to.
I think we're hitting that.
That's
point.
The best answer I've heard in years.
Ever.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For simplifying that.
I do think we're seeing a resurgence in it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think so. And I've got 9 years of heartaches and blood, sweat, and tears and helping and pushing and fighting the world to make it better to back up my claim.
Well, I mean, in the sense that like right now, even just if you own anything that needs work, good luck. Because if you need if you need an electrician, a plumber, an HVAC guy, they're 3 to 6 months out and they're picking their work.
For sure.
Like, no, I don't want to do that. It's too small. Like, learn it on YouTube because I'm got bigger jobs. They're going to pay me 3 times as much, and I'll just pick the ones I want to do. And so, like, I mean, automotive technicians, everybody in a trade is hiring and paying well now, finally.
For sure.
But, I mean, it's like we took that big dip, and then we had that massive shortage. And I think we're in that point now where everybody's realizing how big that shortage is because, like, the housing market got bought out, and now everybody's like, now we can't work on these houses we bought. So
well, and
my rent.
I think most important thing for young people by the time they get into college, they need to buy their own toolbox. It could just be a basic toolbox with the basics in it, but that's your key to the world. You know, I've got a basic toolbox, nothing crazy. I built all my cars with that, you know, and just a few power tools. My wife and I bought a fixer-upper house, thank God, right before the market exploded, and all that work. And you know, I hope that young people realize that they too can fix and build things. You know,
me too. I mean, you're talking to a guy who has a giant.
This is a really nice Milwaukee toolbox. It is
Milwaukee,
living room. So I mean, I was literally working on a project, a Honda Monkey in my living room last night.
Did you bleed the brakes in the living room?
I did bleed the brakes in the living room, yeah. I probably should be very careful about talking about that considering I said I rent. So,
I've been there, done that. I once had a landlord look in the window, go to my wife. I wasn't home. She's like, is that a motorcycle in there? And my wife's like, no, that's a static model. It doesn't run.
It's art.
Half true.
It's art. Yeah.
I have a beautiful...
It doesn't run. That's why it's in here getting fixed.
Hold on. Here, I'm going to turn around to the foyer. You'll notice a Ducati sitting right there.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay. That's where it belongs. Yeah,
exactly.
That's right.
Dang straight.
Yeah. I had my RC51 in my living room in the winters for
very nice.
Behind the couch. It fit perfectly behind the couch.
Yeah.
Couch table? Yeah. That's an expensive couch table.
Yeah. You know, it looked good in there, though.
Sure.
Sure.
Didn't leak anymore.
Talk about a little bit about something. So if somebody is interested in this program, I mean, what do they learn? How can they learn? How can they be involved in it?
With regard to Genius Garage,
With Genius Garage, sorry. Yes, sure. I apologize.
The biggest trick for me is that all the people who do it myself, that put the time in, we don't get paid. So, you know, our resources can only go so far. So typically we'll do right about a 5-6 month program once a year. It usually starts earlier in the year. We'll do a shout out on the website and social media and my own relating to taking some applications and such. So typically college age students, sometimes a little older, you know, undergrad, post-grad, typically mechanical engineering students, but you get people who are mechanics that want to be tech. I had a guy that went to, I think, UTI for a couple of years, and they totally fed him a line afterward. It just wasn't able to go anywhere. And I'm like, come on, kid, come over to Genius Garage. Let's do a race car. And he's got an amazing job working on nothing but exotic cars for extreme experience right now. So he's really happy. But that's it. You apply with a
those
resume.
Never break and those things.
Yeah, right. Job security there, you know, especially if you got a McLaren.
Exactly.
But they apply with a resume and a cover letter. And the beauty of it is there is no charge to students to be able to come. And that was really important to me because I wanted to be able to choose students based on what's in their head and their hearts and not because of what their last name is or what they're worth. So, you know, maybe someday we get bigger, there'll be tuition, but I will always ensure there'll be scholarships and full scholarships for the right people. And I've been able to do that because I'm crazy and care and didn't mind putting 8-9 years of my life in, and not getting anything tangible back. But I think it matters. And I think also by being able to be on YouTube, and being real and honest and showcasing things with Genius Garage, I've also seen how that's inspired thousands of people. So, there's effects out there, both tangible and intangible. And I think it's been very positive.
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Those of us with vintage British sports cars appreciate having people be able to work on them. So thanks.
Well, but we got I can't help your masochism though.
That's different. That's a lot different. You accept that.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, I mean, it's working on cars and stuff like that. It's like what they tell carpenters. How do you learn to start working with wood? You start cutting wood, and you start working on your car. And it's we locally have a company called Stu's Garage, which is like you can go to a place where if you don't have all the tools, you don't have all that stuff, you can literally just drive your car there, and they have lifts, full tool sets. And not necessarily like instruction over your shoulder, but they'll have somebody there who can walk you through the basic stuff. If you need to do your brakes, something like that, they're not going to do it for you. In fact, they're not allowed to. But they'll be like, hey, we can give you some tips. We've seen 100 of these in here, which is what most people need to do. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the shop's going to charge you $600-800, but buy the parts, and you can probably do it yourself for about half that.
Yeah.
And if you don't have those skills, like those resources are out there. You can
They're also there so you don't drop the lift on yourself.
That too.
Yeah.
That's also a problem.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just so glad people are still pushing this because so many people I've helped at work and, and I work in a tech company full time and that are just like, hey, can you help me with my car? And I'm like, dude, I've seen the work you do. You can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can design a data center. You can, you can do your brakes.
Indeed.
You are a man of adventures. I want to talk to you about some of those adventures.
Hit me. What do you got? I've got a few. I've seen bioluminescent algae dolphins glowing off the coast of France from a tall ship, and I've also pulled 9Gs and F-16. So we got some other ones in there too.
Yeah, you're a man who's lived. I love that. I was laughing a post you made not so long ago. It was a while ago, but with the Murcielago. And you drove.
Yeah.
How many miles with that thing? Your wife was 7 months pregnant when she was along with you.
How many miles or how many miles an hour?
No, I mean, yeah. No, we'll keep the. It hasn't been long enough to talk about that.
I can answer in intangible quantities. Anyway, but I'm sorry.
He drove to Mexico with a 7-month pregnant wife?
That's okay. I converted all the speeds and units to furlongs per fortnight. Nobody knows what that means anymore. I'm sorry. But anyway, you're saying with the Murcielago.
God. How did you convince me to do this road trip at 7 months pregnant with this thing?
Well, we were going to go down to Cars and Coffee in Columbus, and my wife likes that, and the Murcielago's cool. So I don't think I had to convince her. I'm like, you want to take the Murcielago? Yeah. So,
I've driven a few, and I'm like, that's a car you kind of have to crawl out of if you're larger, let alone 7 months pregnant and just hard to move.
My wife is cool, and she's also got earphones in right now. But I will tell you this: the Murcielago has. Shit, that's good. The Murcielago has very tight bolsters. Like I am a skinny white boy, right? Like I have to take my wallet out of my back pocket just to fit my little butt in there, right?
Yeah.
And so, as one does when they're pregnant, their proportions may change some. And my wife is going, these seats do not. And I'm like, you're doing a great job, though. So, yeah, she did great. We put her luggage in the front, and she seemed to have fun as a trooper. It was a little less fun and slightly more stressful to her because the road trip in the Murcielago to Cars and Coffee was the first time I drove it in the United States. So all the driving I did was on Germany and the Autobahn. So, we would cruise at 150, like chill. Miles an hour, not kilometers. And so when we got here, I found it challenging to drive in a manner befitting of motorists in America. And the other problem,
done this before.
the other issue I found were people in lifted trucks in rural America. They tend to get their panties in a bind and their ego, and this funny little orange cars going by them. And so this one guy with a really lifted truck and these tires. He thought, I just cruised by. I'm like, he's sitting in the left lane like an idiot. So I cruise by on the right. He's like, ain't no way I'm letting that car do that. And so he starts accelerating, and I didn't even downshift, but I'm like, okay, we're doing we're doing like 100 right now. This is getting a little silly. So my butt. I'm like, all right, dude, I'm pretty sure I can go speeds higher than when your tires will explode. And I don't mind watching you doing a barrel roll in my mirror. So let's see what happens. What happened was my wife was, do we really need to do this? I'm like, we're kind of doing it now. So
he challenged me. I have to. It's a guy code thing, honey. You got to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's fight or flight, guys. It's about safety.
Agreed.
Totally.
Agreed.
Right?
You were protecting her. You were getting her away from the situation.
I am playing to our strengths, and our strengths are hot, nasty speed. So, anyway.
Amen. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
How many miles did you guys actually drive?
What? I was I don't know. It was like 2.5 hours down there and back, and then we spent the weekend in it, drive around town and stuff. Yeah, it was not that. Yeah. She's cool. She's a trooper.
Very cool. So, man, I don't even know where to start with your cars, because I wanted to ask you about just car stories in general and adventures you've been on. The Lycan is one I'm just jumping out to us now, but actually, I want to ask you though, do you have a favorite adventure? Like, if you go back in your mind and there's like this one pops up and you're like, this is the one I love. And it could be for all the wrong reasons. Like, this was a train wreck. I have one of those. I'm like, I love this story, but this is awful in every way.
That's a great question. I'll first answer it by saying the favorite adventure is always the next one to come. Because,
there you go.
I've discovered, I don't know if it's a personality defect or something, but I'm definitely a goal-driven person. And I need goals. I'm not a maintenance-driven person. So I don't think I would do well in a corporation. But with regard to favorite adventures, I think it comes down to moments, like magic moments and how many there can be in one. And honestly, I think that the most special one I ever did was I'd always wanted to sail on a tall ship, like a square rig sailing ship from the 1800s, and
very cool.
I had thought about it and a good number of years ago. I was 14 Genius Grudge, about 9-10 years ago now. And I decided, and it was winter, which is a great time. And I found two of them. I found a clipper ship, a 3-masted clipper ship, which actually is a replica of the Cuddy Sark, which is the same ship on the cheap Scotch. Which was one of like the fastest sailing ships from the old tea trade days. And then, so that was in Europe. And then there was another ship of some kind that was going to be down by I think the Galapagos and some of Darwin's journeys. I thought that was cool, but I was like, no, the weather's going to be good down there. I want to sail through the North Sea in winter. Like that's sailing, right? So I ended up connecting with, it was called the Stad Amsterdam, City of Amsterdam, which is, the ship was owned and commissioned by the guy that owns the Ronstadt Shipping Company that also sponsors F1. And they named it after Amsterdam. They put in, I think the city put in some money and it harbors there. But it goes to like special ports of call around the world for, like high-level guests. Look at our flagship. It's so beautiful. Oh. You know what I mean? They have parties and things on it. But
I said good day.
Right. Yes, I said good day, sir.
I said good day, sir.
So it's, they'll go to Monaco for the F1 race and things like this. They go to the Cayman Islands and things like this. But the ship has to go from place to place. So they'll do something called adventure sailing, where if you do that, they put you up, and the ship is beautiful. And it came out to like, I don't know, $150 a day, which is like a crummy hotel in America. And they feed you. Like, what? So I signed up for adventure sailing from Mountain, which is...
But you're the crew, correct?
If you want to be, but they're totally cool. If you just want to walk around and be cool, you can be cool.
Oh.
But okay, I got to be honest, before I did this, I'm like, I don't know what I'm signing up for. Like, this could be nuts. Like, is this going to be crewed by a bunch of Russians? And I'll make them mad and they'll like chuck me overboard? I didn't know. No, seriously, I was ready for anything. And it was funny because I remember leaving Amsterdam and just having a nice ride my bicycle around, going to like Rembrandt's house and stuff and drinking espresso. And then I'm like, okay, we're going to hit the sea. What's this going to be like for, I don't know, 10 days or something? We go down to Portugal. And so I show up and and I don't know what I was thinking. Like, this is going to be the 1800s, and like women are bad luck on a sailing vessel. I'm not being sexist. That's like actually what people thought in the 1800s, right?
The thing they believe.
Yeah, it's like, oh, these females, we will surely drown. David Jones's locker, right?
Exactly.
And so
The storms are coming.
I show up with like my bag and to the ship, and I get greeted by these two beautiful blonde women and the one that's crewing the ship, and I'm like, "You're the crew?" And then the other one, and she's like, "I'm the doctor." I'm like, "You're the doctor?" And so they grab my bag, and I'm walking, and I walk in the ship. It's beautiful. I'm like, "Oh my god, this is like Star Trek: The Next Generation of the 1800s." That's what I thought, and I'm like, what is this? And I was the only person there from North or South America, or obviously clearly American. I kind of took that as a bit of pride. The captain was Swiss, because they're a seafaring a country, but honestly, there are a lot of people from Europe, someone from Australia. It was very interesting and a lot of fun, and I went by myself, so you have to make new friends and new adventures. So it was fantastic. I learned a lot. Climbing up on the rigging is terrifying, and it was funny because I remember climbing up to haul up and stow a sail, and the woman from Australia that was crewing the ship, I don't know if she said, I'm like, there are two things I'm deeply afraid of. Do you know what they are? And I told her, I'm like, heights and deep water. So it was great. And I seriously, and I remember one day they're like,
"Great,
do you want to climb out to the bowsprit?" And that's the pokey part off the front of the ship. The sticks way out there, right? The pokey part. That's a technical term. And so we got a harness. I think we had a harness. Yeah, a harness where we could clip on. But you can't actually clip on everywhere. There's places where it's just climbing. And so we're out over the Atlantic. The sun was shining in our face. And I remember stepping over the railing of the ship on the starboard side there. And I remember thinking, holy crap, like, we're out in the middle of the Atlantic, like bounding over waves, like up and down. And, the front and the back of the ship moved the most. It was beautiful. It was also terrifying. And so we're climbing on these giant chains. And I remember looking at my boots I was wearing, because they're the same I used to ride horses in. And I'm climbing on these chains over, like past the woman on the front of the ship, the carving, and there are dolphins riding the compression wave below me. And we're climbing out and out and out. And you get to the front, and like the difference between the wave and where you were would change by, 30 feet going up and down while you're climbing. And you're not clipped in until you get to a certain point. I remember climbing out there to a certain point. I'm just hanging on. I'm like, I'm good. We'll hang on here. Because I'm thinking, so if I fell here, would I survive this, and would they notice?
Well, you're not going to go through the propeller, so that's the good news.
That's a good thing. The dolphins will save me. So
exactly. That happens all the time.
It does. And so we go out there, but this was one of the most beautiful moments of my life. It's terrifying, but awesome. And when and you're climbing out there with the bounty crew, and I get at the front and I turn around, and I told you the sun was at our face, but at this moment the sun was pointing with me at the ship, and the wind was at our backs. So the sails, the beautiful square rig sails, were all billowing, and the sun was golden on the sails. And I turned around, and it was just like, it took my breath away, because the sun was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen as a ship at sail. And we were out on the pokey part, the bowsprit. And that is the focal point of literally all of the power of this 250-foot ship propelled by the wind that's at our backs. And I was literally at the focal point of that power blasting across the Atlantic. And it was a very magical moment, and two others, and I could go on forever about it, but there were a few other I'll just give you some bullet points. It was a cool moment. We were having a smoko break. People were smoking and drinking tea. And some rich guy in a Learjet over the Atlantic must have saw it and told this guy to fly low, because all of a sudden a Learjet like blasts over our deck at like 100 foot off the front. That was kind of neat. There was a moonless night off the coast of France where I was looking out over the water. I'm like, what did I just see? And I looked down, and you could see all the dolphins playing in the pitch black, because the algae was glowing, and it was you could see the dolphins glowing green, leaving trails as they played. And it was was truly like a fairy tale. I mean, it was amazing. And there's also a moment I remember standing on the deck one night, and I was looking up at the there were stars you could see through the clouds. And I was looking up at the stars. You had your sea legs well, and that was the moment that I could feel that I wasn't touching Earth, because we're in a fluid, we're in the ocean, but I'm looking at the stars.
Yeah.
And truly a moment. I was not drinking or smoking, by the way, but truly a moment, not to kill the moment, but truly a moment where the Earth fell away, and I only felt as though I was in the stars. And I don't know if I could ever replicate that moment, but that was a moment where, if you ever see like a fairy tale or an animation or something where you see a sailing ship sailing through the stars, as campy as this may seem, that is exactly what we were doing. And it was incredible. I felt like we were literally in a sailing ship in space.
That's an inspiring moment.
Truly.
I feel like my whole life has been a failure, and I've never done anything like that.
Dude, let's go adventure.
Thanks. I want to go sail on a Pokey thing.
Yes, yes. But there's other fun moments. So the second in command was this great Polish guy. He had a great accent. He's like, Casey, in Poland, I tell you, the best farm animal is goats, because you can milk goat, or if it's cold, you can cuddle with goat, or you can eat goat. So. And I had a great time to do accents, and he and I became...
not wrong.
I'm not wrong. And he and I became good friends over this. No. And the best thing was, we sail into Portugal, into Porto, like the ancient... That's where everybody's ever... Like Vasco da Gama would have sailed in there, But nowadays, it's an international shipping port. So let's be real. Ports are not like... It's not like the south of France. It's maybe kind of like more of a rough neighborhood.
It's not Monaco, is what you're saying.
We're in Portugal, and we just ripped into the international sailing port in like the 1800 Starship Enterprise, and we're all like, "Let's go party! Who wants to go to the disco?" So here we are, and we're just going through. And I remember going over a walking bridge and something. And can I curse on the show? By the way, I don't know.
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. So I prefer to say what people said. So we're going, and we're just like laughing, and we're trying to go into Porto to, have fun. And we're walking through the port to this thing, and somebody goes, "Is that a pool of blood?" I'm like, "Yeah, and it's fresh." I remember this Australian girl's like, "Fuck me dead," and I'm like, "I think that might have been what happened. Let's go."
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
It's some fun moments, but I got more, but we'll cut it there. So the sailing ship was good. What?
No, I just
the ending. The sailing ship was good.
Exactly.
Like somebody might have died. It's good. We were wearing disco.
Dear Mom, camp is good. I'm fine. Pool of blood. We're good.
No,
moving on.
No more to that story. The only part of the story is we got like a Mercedes taxi cab, and they what was the word? They distracted the driver because we had too many people to fit in it. And I didn't get in the second one, but the captain was with us. And he just dove in the floor underneath people's feet, so the taxi cab driver didn't realize they had it overloaded. And on the way back, I was hearing the story of they were trying to explain to the Portuguese taxi driver that he needs to take us to the dock. They're like, "Doca uno," and trying to explain to this guy, because nobody spoke Portuguese on the ship. And they were trying to explain, they're like, "Yes, this is our ship," like this. And it was at the moment the captain wanted to reach up from the floor and go, "And I am the captain." And I just think it's great.
I am on the floor and we're moving. You can't stop.
Too late.
Too late.
Yes.
So that was a good one. Not a car story,
funny.
but a very, very good one. I'd love to go back again.
Oh, they don't all need to be. Oh, that's a great one.
I'm adding that to my bucket list.
Yeah, no kidding.
Not the blood part. Well, maybe the blood part. As long as it's not my
full
blood.
pirate experience with a stabbing.
Maybe a doctor
I feel like
was
he almost went full Captain Jack. Yeah.
But why is the rum gone? Yeah.
But where's the rum? Exactly.
Oh, that's funny. All right, so we should expand on the Lycan Hypersport story.
We can do that.
I really...
Please?
Yeah.
Please.
Okay, so
God,
this story, man. Where do you want me to start? And
okay, so to give our guests a little bit of a backstory, if you've seen one of the 10,000 times that Fast and the Furious has done things,
yes.
They jumped allegedly, in the movie, they jumped a Lycan Hypersport, which is, Dan and I have interviewed the CEO, actually.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Ralph, yeah.
They jumped it from a tower in Dubai. Well, okay, but in the movie. And then after that, they took it, and there were some of the cars that were they movie used cars that were in the show, the jumping
movie,
show or whatever it is.
They might have had the one.
No, but I'm
in the Fast and the Furious. Is that what you're saying, or are you talking about the live action show later?
But did that the car that you got from the live action show, did that come from the movie?
Yeah, I think all that stuff was leftover stuff from the movie that went to the live action show, as best I can tell. Yeah, I'm
going to let you start from there. I'm just giving a basis so I guess okay. It's your story. Yeah,
yeah. So it's funny because I can't remember when I heard about this, but Ed Bolian from VinWiki, of VinWiki fame, of course.
Yeah,
he is telling me the Lykan Hypersport body they use in Fast and Furious. Obviously, the body came from the original molds, and they commissioned a bunch to be made instead of carbon fiber out of glass fiber for stunt cars and whatnot to be used in that. And as the story goes, this one made it to the Fast and Furious live action show, which was in England, which is kind of like Ice Capades but with cars. And it went back.
That sounds way more fun.
Yeah,
I'd rather see that.
It was clever. It didn't last very long though, and. There were a couple of Lykan Hypersports left over from that. One that was on a platform that could drive, and another that was literally the world's most expensive Nerf gun that would be shot up on an air cannon out of the front of an airplane. Ours was the Nerf gun, and or the Nerf bullet, or whatever. And so what happened was this live-action show goes bankrupt. The British government seizes all the assets, renders all previous contracts moot, and the stuff ends up in a junkyard, right? And so apparently all this stuff was supposed to be destroyed, but it's since transversed like international everything and the British government and junkyards and changed hands and everything. And so it ends up coming to Ed. He got a Lamborghini Murcielago engine and this got this Hypersport body along with it. And he goes, Casey, this should be a Genius Garage build. It's brilliant. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it'd be cool to build a car with Genius Garage, but like, dude, that's a lot of work. So Genius Garage, a nice gentleman actually.
It's a Nerf bullet, Ed.
Yeah, that's like, dude.
Yeah.
You know, the funny thing is, and Ed's a great guy, and he knows a lot about cars, but he doesn't build cars. And I don't know if he fully understands or appreciates how much work we actually did and how many miracles I pulled out of every single one of my human orifices to make this be possible. So
just the human ones.
And some God only knows. And so So we get this, and a gentleman loading the money actually at Genius Garage so that we could acquire the body from Ed, get the stuff we need to build it. And it was really a great curriculum for the students in building it. They were super excited and pumped. Obviously, Lykan Hypersport's an amazing car. You know, there were, I think, 6 original ones that are $3.4 million in Dubai. I drove the original prototype, met Ralph, drove the Fenrir Super Sport, and they were awesome cars. It was based on the Roof CTR3, great platform, clearly. And really cool that you get the, Dubai has this car culture scene and going that's just, wildly exclusive. It's really cool.
Excessive?
I don't know if it's really excessive. You're talking to a guy that I guess road trips with his pregnant wife in a Murcielago. So, this is
true. It's all relative.
It's all relative. Trust me, though, I never lose sight of the value of a dollar or the value of an hour of work, which is probably why
I don't.
Yeah, I
never got that impression for a second.
I appreciate.
I think anybody who's ever seen your channel sees that.
Well, thank you. I just for anybody listening, I understand the absurdity of it, and I can appreciate it. And everything is relative in different places of life. So anyway, Genius Garage, with regard to this body, we got to build a car with it. So we have to reverse, engineer and figure out the frog DNA for Jurassic Park. The CTR3 was based on, Porsche mechanicals. So we found the same Porsche platform that the CTR3 was, which was the same in both the Boxster and the 911 from the firewall forward. Of course, we used the Boxster with the largest naturally aspirated engine at the time. But you cannot simply put a Lykan Hypersport on a Boxster. That's not how this works. It's not a kit car. This was a one-off body left over, wrecked in a movie and live show from a stunt, that came from a, hypercar. So it was a tremendous amount of work. But when we started seeing how things worked with the Porsche mechanicals that would have been in the roof with what was left of the body, it was pretty awesome, and it was inspiring for the students. So there was a year of effectively building the car and doing all the mechanicals. We did make it a fully functioning car, track tested it at Mid-Ohio at speed. We were the fastest car on the track that day, even with Z06s and such being driven hard, which I took pride in. And it was really good. And then the last year has been this car in pain, because as you can imagine, when you build a body for a movie and then a live action show where they have CG touch up and they're going to launch out of an airplane, it's probably not going to be that nice afterward. So there's an incredible body shop down in Chattanooga, Advanced Collision. They also had a Porsche race team, their Porsche factory authorized collision center, and they were incredibly nice and donated the time to do all of the composite work and all of the painting of this car. So it's now back. The Genius Garage students are finished, and actually it's going to probably be completely finished on Friday. And it's
so cool.
It's exquisitely beautiful. The paint on this car in every way equals the original Lykan Hypersports. So it's gorgeous. It's built on the same basic Porsche mechanicals. And while we're not going to throw the time and money at it to build major horsepower with a higher dryer turbo engine and throw giant ceramic brakes on it, I know for a fact that the platform is every bit of capable of being. It's already well balanced for the track, but if somebody in the future owns it and they want to throw a heck of a lot of power at it, a heck of a lot of brakes, I know that it will perform equal to the original car. Sorry, Ralph, but I drove both of the originals, and I know what we got here, and I know that it will be able to perform just as well.
So that was going to be my main question: is has Lykan reached out to you on this? Have you been working with them?
I'm glad you brought that
involved?
up.
I mean,
yeah. So
yeah,
it's interesting because they reached out after a few videos when we were doing this. W Motors, the relationship manager, there, and first thing that happens is your heart sinks and go, oh God, am I going to get sued by the prancing horse of Italy? You know what I mean?
Cease and desist.
It's not Ferrari, so.
W Motors was super cool. They said they were watching and they liked it, and they even offered if there was any assistance they could do. Did a Zoom call after that. Their one engineer gave us a couple of really good tips with relating to the doors, because the nature of the way the doors open up on the Lykan Hypersport, I will say it in the nicest way possible, was an engineering challenge of which gave him pain in his posterior. So
what a proper way to say a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Yes, he helped us mitigate the giant pain in the ass. And actually, the doors work great. But it was very nice.
What is the name for that door? Because it's a rear-facing
it's like
scissor
a rear
butterfly.
reverse butterfly.
I don't know. What should we call it? Like suicidal Lambo door or something?
There you go. Suicidal Lambo.
I think they had a
you
great.
definitely want to drive with the doors open. Yeah.
They had a great name for it. I kind of think it's kind of like if somebody cuts you off in traffic and you're really mad. It's like, hey, I don't know.
Hey, okay.
But no, they're really cool. They're really cool. When we're track testing it, though, since they're effectively suicide doors that open up, the engineer / race mechanic and me is going, dear God, Latch, just don't fail at speed. I want to see this door ripping off. It didn't, of course, but I think of terrible things happening. No, W Motors was really cool. And to be perfectly honest, like Donut Media, as much as I love them, they did kind of a fluff hit piece on, W Motors and the Lykan Hypersport.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I saw this, and after I've been working with them, they reached out to the students and everything. I'm like, well, this is total bull crap. So I immediately did a response video, and I'm like, this is total bull crap. And I wrote W Motors like in the video, and I'm like, hey, you guys. So I wrote it in better words than this. I'm like, so people are talking crap because you don't make many cars and no one's test drive these. What do you think about me test driving them, since I'm not an idiot, and I'll put it out here so people can see the cars are real? And they're like, okay. And I was just like, gee, Donut Media, did you ever think about just being cool and reaching out and asking if you could drive it? Maybe they'll say yes. So they did.
Yes.
And my wife and I flew to Dubai, and maybe this was silly, but I decided to go there on my own dollar and just make it a vacation, because I didn't want anybody to say that I was being paid by a company. I was like, let's go drive the cars. That's what they're all about. It's a smaller engineering company, obviously, and these are Halo cars. They build other things. They were rebodying all the vehicles and getting them ready. So, all the new Dubai police vehicles are done by W Motors. Okay, so they do a lot of cool stuff. And when I was there, I got a thrash on the original Lykan Hypersport prototype for 3 days. Through Dubai, outside of Dubai, we took it to the Jebel Jay Mountain. And I just absolutely obliterated this mountain going up, which kind of made, I got to tell you this too. So Dubai is very much a police state. They've got a speeding like camera every kilometer. And so they have beautiful roads, but you can't have any fun on them. The speed limits are ridiculously low, but everybody merges horrifically. It's all like that Family Guy skit where they don't put I'm not putting turn signal on.
Good luck, everybody else.
Everybody else. That is Dubai 24/7. It's bad, man. It's just
Dan quotes that tons.
Oh yeah, that's Dubai. Like just let people go faster. So we're on this mountain, and I got the cameras going. I'm going to show this, and afterward, I'm like, oh my god, like, does Dubai have any jurisdiction? Like, I hope I broke every law going up the mountain in those cars. Like, we just did it, and so I don't know. Maybe the Dubai police are nicer to them because they made all their cop cars. I don't know, but we had a great time.
I hope so. That seems fair.
It was really fun. It was just like good. It was like normal times in Ohio, just driving fast with your buddies. We just happened to be in Dubai in more expensive cars and rip up to this mountaintop. It was beautiful, though. Oh, this was another magic moment. I got to tell you this, right?
Everybody always says Dubai's a lot like Ohio. I've heard that a lot.
It's just like Ohio. It's just
Dubai,
same.
Ohio. I mean, same. Same.
It's for a car guy, right? It's like, we're going to drive fast and have fun with our buddies. And that's what I did. So, but at the top of this mountain, there was apparently a sheik or somebody that was going to put his palace up there. So he's like, now build my driveway, squiggly and long. And then he decides, I'm not going to build a palace up here. But the driveway that's squiggly and long is there, and now it's the road. But it goes nowhere. So they built like the world's longest zip line up there at like, I don't know, 9,000-foot elevation. It goes down to the bottom of the mountain. And there's a restaurant. And so we go to the restaurant. It was really neat. Like, I walk into this not expecting anything. And all of a sudden, it was like, oh. You look out at this balcony, this beautiful balcony. It was also interesting because it's Christmas in the Middle East, and there's a Christmas tree. I'm like, okay. And I walk out, and it's beautiful. And I'm in the balcony. We're above the clouds. The clouds are forming over the sheer peak below and going underneath. And you can see it. I was like, my God, this is amazing. And so we sit down, and we're having this beautiful lunch. I'm eating salmon and sipping cappuccino in the Middle East on a mountaintop with new pals from all over. And one random white buddy of mine from Ohio. Yes, he came all the way with me to be a camera guy, but it was kind of neat too, because there was, let me think about this before I open my mouth. Over to my left, there was a traditional Arab family over the left. And obviously we're who we are. And there was another family, I think they were traveling, they were Hindu off to the right. So it was kind of cool because at that very cool moment on the mountaintop with the cars was kind of like a neat cultural melding pot. It was just an awesome moment. But anyway, and then, so a trip to Dubai, the last night there, obviously it's blazing hot in the day. So they had rented the Dubai Autodrome, which is the road race track there in town. And they let me track the Fenrir. So I did, in fact, put the Fenrir through its paces really well. I immediately went into race driver tuner mode, and I was like talking to them and the CEO and like, guys, we got to change the spring rate and dampening on this thing. It's kind of pushing a lot. I want to do this, that, and the other thing. And it was an awesome car. And, it's funny because Donut Media is like trying to say, oh, they overheat. Oh, they don't do this. Oh, durr. Yeah, the car's never overheated once, anytime in Dubai, in traffic.
You can't have a car that overheats in Dubai.
No, or, on the track, they were great. It was an awesome platform. And I was like secretly hoping, I'm like, just hire me for a weekend. Let me set up your car. I just wanted to put it on a corner weight scale and just set it up for the track so bad. It would have been awesome. But no, I really enjoyed it. And they were cool about the Genus Garage. And what we decided to do is we kind of called ours the Super Leggera because we made ours a bit lighter. Obviously, in building a custom car, we don't have to do a lot of the same things. We're not selling to somebody that wants something for the street. So, we could get away with things like a little less sound deadening. We were able to put a little more space in the cockpit so you can actually fit a taller person. We did not do side glass, so it could be a little more track-like. So our car is actually quite light, and I was really keen on, Genius Garage with students and teaching them and helping and setting it up and getting the car really balanced well for the track and driving. So it's actually a really cool car. W Motors was super cool to work with. They're real people. If you're just cool and reach out, maybe they'll do something with you. Yep. But it was a great experience. It's kind of amazing because nobody's really gotten to drive those cars. I think all but one were sold to China, and a couple of them were sold to the same guy. Probably went to some ridiculous big collection. The other one I heard was in America for like a hot second, and then went to South America to a wealthy client. Obviously, I don't have.
That's one we saw.
Yeah, I don't have proof of that other than him telling me that. But I can say this in a vague way. There are many people in the world who are of a socioeconomic class that they want to and also remain ghosts, and that includes with their car collection.
Mm-hmm. And we see that a lot actually around here.
Yeah, I'm not pulling that out of an orifice. I can say that. So, do I know for a fact that Six Like and Hypersports exist? No, but I have no reason to believe they don't.
Yeah. We've seen that here many, many times over the years where we didn't even know anybody had this car and existed, and it's been in our backyard because there's so much tech money in the Northwest. And
that happened this weekend with the McLaren.
With the McLaren,
SLR Sterling Moss.
Oh, cool. And it's been here for how long? And we're like, it just means down the road. Like literally, it's probably it lived 10 minutes from here.
Okay, to be fair, we knew it existed, but others didn't.
Right? Yeah, we had talked to, but it's like, but they don't drive it around. They're not flashing it. They just have this as part of their collection. They didn't bring it out this weekend.
Yeah,
that's cool that they were like that though, because when we interviewed Ralph and the guys from Lycan Hypersport or W Motors, excuse me, it was cool how passionate they were about the engineering in the car. A lot of guys you talk to or people assume. I've heard this in conversation from other people, and we're fortunate that when we do a lot of stuff down in Monterey, we meet a lot of people. They just assume people are a certain way, owners of companies, things like that. Like there's a status that goes with it, and I think Ferrari kind of breeds that a little bit with their marketing. But not a lot of the guys we've met are actually that way. When we met the Pagani family, for example, super passionate about engineering and how everything fits and the materials they use. Like they love the engineering behind their cars, and we got the same impression from W Motors. Like this was a big deal to them that everything worked really well and was engineered really well.
Oh, indeed.
And it was, they understand the marketing behind it, but there's a huge engineering geek aspect that they're really into. It's not just somebody pushing pencils and
definitely
here designer, but
definitely.
Well, here's something to sell at a high price.
For sure. Yeah. Well, and the Middle East is honestly a strange place to most Americans because they don't go there. And Dubai is a city of wonders, really. So, we see things like thinking that, oh my gosh, everybody in Dubai only drives $10 million Bugattis, and they're all gold-plated, and money flows from their pockets, and they leave gold bars and taxi cabs, and they're driven by Falcons, and this is sort of how people think.
To be fair, some of that's true.
Okay. Yes.
Hey, if you can't get your Falcon to drive your Bugatti, you don't have anything.
The Falconing option is a Bentley option.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. The Falconing option is a
Bentley SUV.
Well, fair enough. Totally. And it's an interesting thing for some of the Genius Garage students I've had that have come from another country and they come here and Genius Garage ends up being their introduction to what America actually is. So many people from other countries just see the news and they're like, America's like the Wild West and everybody's running around with an AR-15 shooting wildly in the air with no gun laws and cars and cowboys and they drink gasoline in Tombstone, Arizona. Like, no.
That's, to be fair, that's Idaho. My question is this. And maybe the answer: what happens to the cars after you build them? Do they get sold and then they support the Genius Garage?
Sometimes. So, as an example, the cars for Genius Garage, we're not trying to just have like a big collection or thing like this. So, it's a curriculum. We have things. Sometimes things are donated. Incredibly, last year the Lotus T125 Exosphere F1 car that was driven by Jeremy Clarkson, the stick on top here, was donated to Genius Garage. So. These are amazing things that are a part of an engineering curriculum and whatnot. So the Lycan, as an example, obviously we're building it and it will be finished. But that is a car that, I'll be honest, is ending its usefulness in terms of its utility of teaching to Genius Garage. So we will be looking to, frankly, sell it. And I am hoping, as the person who has put blood, sweat, and tears trying to build an organization, that there will be some well-heeled enthusiasts out there that want to fight over it, because that will obviously help the program grow and exist more in the future. So cars are kept as long as they fulfill value to a curriculum and such. We try to be mindful with any expenditures and sales, and sometimes they're sold if we just aren't going to do something with it. Actually, this past year, we sold a really cool little Tame prototype racing car that we had restored. We're keeping it around, but we had the Exosphere and the Daytona donated. So sorry, Tommy Prototipo, you're kind of just went down the totem pole.
Well, lessons were learned, and a beautiful car was restored. So that's the important
Indeed.
thing, and somebody gained a wonderful car. So,
well, 100%, yeah, and that car did launch some amazing careers. So it and obviously that money goes to Genius Garage, the 501c3, and nobody gets paid for teaching. So the money stays with tools, projects, travel, keeping the lights on, things like that. So that's the other reason why we've actually been able to keep a nonprofit functioning this long. And I've had some past donors say to us, "You're literally the only thing we've ever donated to that's continued." Like, well, thank you, but we're trying. So yeah,
that's sort of the point.
Yeah.
What's next? I mean,
for Casey,
not
or
just Genius Garage for you. Yeah. For you.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Jeez. I'll tell you what's next. So in July, my wife is due with our first child, which will be a baby girl.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm excited. I have been banished from my office upstairs, which will be a nursery. So I've removed all the cool man things, and I am renovating the basements. And so we will. I will have to somehow baby-proof a house that has motorcycles and swords in it. I'll work on that. But and paint my old office pink.
You won't be moving that far for that long. You'll be fine. You got at least another year and a half, 2 years before the
We'll just teach her to fence. She'll get a scholarship one day. It's genius, right?
That's probably true, actually.
How many people can apply to college and be like, I can fence while riding a Ducati? What can you do? I learned when I was 2.
I'm going to get that picture. I'm going to take that. That's going to be brilliant. I'm taking that picture.
Oh, you got to. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
So, okay. So there's a kid on the way, right? And, YouTube's still going to be a thing. YouTube for me, I didn't dream to be a so-called influencer or YouTuber. My dreams are more, shall we say, tangible in the world. Yeah, racing and building and doing stuff like that, adventuring, etc. So for me, YouTube is something to connect with. I'm not trying to be like the world's biggest court jester with cars in a fishbowl. So because of that, my channel is not going to be as big as others, I'm sure. I will rub some people the wrong way by being truthful because no one else will say the truth about certain things. And I'm okay with that because I would rather it be a tool to connect with the real world and other people and try to forward and do things in the real world. So that's kind of where I'm going with there. In terms of racing, what's in store for this year? Obviously, mentoring the students with Genius Garage, our intention with that program, which I don't really consider racing because it's engineering and we only really race a little bit for the sake of engineering. It's not like, yay, Casey's going racing. That's not what that is. So there's some stuff going on with that. Obviously, with Daytona Prototype and getting the Exosphere out. I'm mentoring some students with kart racing and taking them out. So I kart race. But I'm working with the Meyer family of Legacy Autosport, and that's Mike, who's my age, and then Butch, his father. And they are the great-grandson and grandson of Louis Meyer, who was the first 3-time Indy 500 winner and also the person who started the milk tradition. And they're just awesome guys, real racers, real people, feel part of the family. Butch Meyer was amazing. He restored a sprint car for Genius Garage, just all his own time donated. He just started going to town. So Genius Garage got a sprint car that'll be out. But Mike and I are planning some bigger racing stuff. So I did a road to Indy test last year in a Pro 2000, which I was trying not to hurt the car because, race cars are expensive when you wreck them. You know what I mean? And I don't have the net worth of these young drivers who pay to drive on the road to Indy typically. So, but I got a nice test in it. So we are looking at some cool things. Kind of a more old school way, but my life ambition is I want to drive an Indy 500. I am on the old side, but I don't care because I'm too stupid to know I'm old. So, what the heck? But
he's like us.
Yeah, right.
Us young children of the young 80s.
There's been guys racing in the Indy 500 in their 40s, so I'm not giving up until they tell me I have to. Come on. Even Mario at his age now is still like, I still want to run. They're like, okay, Dad, calm down. But So
put your glasses on.
We're going to build some Silver Crown cars, and there could be some Indy Lights tests in the future. We'll see. But I hate to say it, but modern day racing does come down to business and money. I do not come from the background that can spend that kind of money. So the only way, sadly, I will be able to achieve that lifelong ambition is by partnering up in some sort of hopefully mutually beneficial way on a large scale level where that kind of economic financial horsepower can find traction. But Mike and I, the old school guys, we're going to keep building and wrenching with our dreams. Really excited about maybe doing some Silver Crown stuff because that is good old fashioned badass American oval racing. And Indy Lights is obviously one step under IndyCar. So I think if you can get out and do pretty well with some of that stuff, then you've checked off all the boxes. So it really just comes down to will the business happen? And, you got to leverage what you got. And I'd like to think that, with the exposure I've been able to come by through YouTube on my own channel and VinWiki, that will make the difference. Because, I ran the numbers of the Indy 500 and the NTT IndyCar series and even my small channel. Heck, the second year I did it was getting the same amount of views as the entirety of the NTT IndyCar series worldwide. So I hope somebody out there gets it one day.
Something.
So, but...
well, I mean, you're having fun, you're doing some cool stuff, and you're giving back a lot. So I hope that comes back to you and somebody makes it happen because that'd be awesome.
Well, it's kind of you to say, but...
I think you're putting enough good out in the world. Yeah.
I'm trying. It does seem like the world has been a little kinder. The universe has smiled upon me a little bit more in the last couple of years. My wife and I finally got to get our first house. It was a fixer-upper. It's looking good. We have a little girl on the way. That's amazing. I'm so fortunate, and YouTube has allowed me to make a living while being able to mentor students where I don't get paid. Because if I can't make something a living, I can't volunteer my time. And I just refused to quit on Genius Garage. I should have. It was stupid that I did it, but I didn't. And actually, the person that got behind donating the Lotus Exosphere to Genius Garage, which let's not undersell that car, that was $1 million car when it was new 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And they only sold like 5 of them because it was way too extreme for normal people. It made way more downforce than the current F1 car and was faster than all F1 cars up to that point. It's a Bond villain car. But the only reason that was donated to Genius Garage is, one, it's not just about like tax write-offs and BS like that. The people that got behind it genuinely cared about Genius Garage more than their expensive toy. And they had been watching the program and me over the years and saw the struggles, saw the fight, saw all the good that it was done, and saw that it was being done right. And they're like, you know what? Here, have fun. So it's pretty amazing.
Well, I mean, I really appreciate you coming on and talking about it. It's been quite an adventure. I didn't think we'd be, and I thought about this. I talked to Dan. I was like, who we're interviewing tonight? Like, it kind of clicked, like, because I've watched a lot of your stuff.
Yeah, that crazy weirdo,
and really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. He's gonna get us. Yeah. So we really appreciate it. Thanks for putting all that good out into the world and teaching those things. I think that's important, and we're big supporters of that, and we'll like to talk about it.
Well, I got the receding hairline to prove all the stress from the students, but hopefully it was worth it.
That's okay. That's fine.
Well, it just makes the helmet fit better.
That's what hats are
It's good for a good 10 knots top speed.
Totally.
Absolutely. Yeah. Weight savings.
For our listeners and viewers, if you want to go find Casey, you can find him on YouTube, Instagram, website. Is there any other places you want to tell people to go? Because I will gladly plug anything you put up there. And of course, there will be links on the show description.
Casey Putsch, C-A-S-E-Y, last name Putsch, spelled like the German Rebellion, P-U-T-S-C-H. I'm really easy to find. Obviously, Genius Garage is real easy to find. VinWiki, awesome place for car channels. Got a bunch of stories on there. I'm frighteningly easy to find, and there's plenty of absurdity out there. And you can find everything from serious awesome to zany fun. So, hope it inspires you.
It's all interesting though, and if you like the stories you heard today or saw today, I'm still used to getting used to the video thing. 230 episodes or 25 episodes of audio, and then switching to video is still throwing me off. But yeah, man, I hope we can send more people your way, and I hope to see your success all the way to Indy, because it'll be a great story and a great ride for the rest of us too.
Well, thank you very much. I can only imagine how cool it would be one day. Just it's not Genius Garage; it's more of a me thing, and maybe the Meyer family. But the Meyer family, I think it's in 4 years marks the 100th anniversary of when the great granddad was first there, and their family goes back a few decades before Andretti or Unser was ever heard about. So I really hope that together we can get back there. I'd love to help fulfill that for their family, getting back to Indy for the 100th anniversary. And heck, if I can find a way to claw myself in a seat too, that would be great. But even if we go there as team owners and whatnot, really want to be able to make that happen and bring that Indianapolis 500 history full circle for the Meyer family.
For sure.
Can't wait to see it. Well, for this episode of the Avance Podcast, I'm Nick.
I'm Dan, and don't just get there. Enjoy the drive.